I see what you're doing, but it sucks. All right, back again, guys. Here to talk about the other movie I saw in theaters recently, The Exorcist Believer, which is a sequel reboot of the Exorcist franchise. I don't know who directed it. I'm not going to try to vamp to look it up right now. But this came out a couple weeks ago, and I did see it on the week it came out, and this is a frustrating one for me specifically. I know some people liked it. I know some people got a lot of it. I know a lot of people hate it because it's woke. Another one of those fucking movies. But that's not the reason it sucks. What makes this movie frustrating to watch is you can see what it's doing. You can see what the idea was. You can see what the pitch it was. And I've mentioned this in a few other reviews over the course of this year. And that's true here. Because you can tell this movie was being very careful to rhyme with the original. Because a lot of people forget about the original Exorcist movie is that all the horror stuff that everyone remembers from the movie isn't until the last act. It's not until like last third. A good chunk up to that is a very kind of slow-paced, almost kind of drama. About a girl and wondering if she is like, what's going on with her. She seems to be sick. Something's wrong. So they run tests and they try to do all these things. And there's a lot of like drama in there. And I haven't watched it in a long time, so bear with me. The point is, it's not really a horror movie until the last third. That's the part everyone remembers. So this one tries to do the same thing, where a good chunk of the film is just about a single father. I know I'm gonna try to look this up now because I am at that point where I should start remembering names. A single father whose wife died while she was pregnant, and they managed to save the child. That child has grown, is in high school now, and she eventually gets lost with another friend of hers. It's also worth noting that the father and daughter here are black, and the girl's friend is white. That'll be important later for a whole thing I have to say about this fucking movie. David Gordon Green is the director. But yeah, so years later, these two girls go missing. The dad naturally loses his shit, whose name is Victor. And that's God, why is this? Okay, and his daughter's name is Angela. That's a daughter's name. But when they eventually do find them, they find that they seem different. They seem kind of funky, and we, the audience, obviously know that they've been possessed by some kind of demon. But it takes them for a while to figure out, and then of course that leads to the third act, which is the actual exorcist in question. The big twist of this one compared to the other movies is there's actually two girls this time that are possessed, and the exorcism involves both of them together. And it does all the exorcism things you expect from there. It feels like it tries to add a few new twists on there, but it feels like it chickens out, which is part of what makes this movie frustrating. So let's dive into that a bit more detail. There's gonna be some spoilers here that I want to talk about, but I don't recommend this movie, so fuck it. The biggest problem with this movie is, again, at least for the first half, I was kind of like, okay, it's not great, but it's not bad. And I'm trying to figure out, because this movie I saw this movie got a lot of hate before I saw it. I was like, okay, where is the criticism coming from? Where is all, the hate for this movie coming from outside of the usual suspects who hate it because it stars a black girl? And then it kind of hit me what was wrong with it, is that the actual build up to the exorcism itself revolves around a lot of bad writing and pointless characters and a kind of pointless cameo from the mom from the original movie who is in this one, because it has that kind of gratuitous, we got to bring a franchise character back from the original in order to give this movie validity or some bullshit. So they do that, and they give her an extra scene with the white girl, which goes badly, and then she disappears for the entire rest of the movie. So I was like, okay, well, I guess that happened. But one idea this movie had that I thought was actually very interesting, I would have loved to see it go more in that direction further, is it does kind of introduce the idea of the exorcism through the eyes of other cultures. So they bring in this other woman who kind of approaches spirituality and the undead and the afterlife a little differently, and she comes in to help the exorcism, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, so we're doing exorcism through the eyes of a different religion or culture. That's kind of cool. That's kind of neat. That's an interesting direction to take the franchise. But it does that like a little bit and then chickens out, because then it pulls in the priests again, and then it pulls in all the usual suspects of like, oh, here's what you expect from an exorcism movie, and it just kind of gets loud and noisy. You can't really tell what's even happening or what action means what from what character. There's a priest character who, like, obviously there's a priest character that shows up at some point, who like tries to get permission from the Catholic Church to do exorcism, but they refuse to do it, and he's having a big hard time about it, and he tells them of the day they're planning to do the exorcism. It's like, no, I can't do it. I can't go in there. Like, the church said no, and he chickens out and he sits in the car, but then he has a brave moment, and he goes in and he participates in the exorcism. He starts doing the power of Christ compels you, that kind of crap. But then he dies almost immediately. So it's kind of like, okay, well, that was fucking pointless. And then what other dumb... Oh, yeah, and then the one part that really pissed me off, that really got me, was there's this next-door neighbor that Victor has. It's Victor, right? Yeah, Victor. Victor has, who is like who was a nurse, who I guess is a believer in God and all that kind of stuff. And this is revealed towards the like the third act of the movie, when they start realizing what is happening to the girls. The neighbor starts suspecting she's possessed. The dad is obviously a skeptic and doesn't really believe it. Hence the name Believer. That's the title of the movie. Oh, he learns to believe. Yeah. And then this neighbor, who's white, that's relevant, goes on this long speech about how she used to be a nun, and she created this, she caused the greatest sin you can do, because she got pregnant and she had an abortion. And right then I'm already pissed. Like, oh, god damn it, is this gonna be like a pro-life fucking message to this goddamn movie? Is that what we're doing? And it kind of is, kind of isn't. Again, it doesn't really commit to it. I don't know. That one's probably a good thing. But towards the end of the film, when the aforementioned priest backs out, the nun literally makes herself a white savior of the movie, as she's like, I was born to do this. God has led me to do this exorcism. I will lead the exorcism. I will save these children. Literal white savior. And I'm just sitting there like, Jesus fucking Christ. As they start bringing together, I don't know, the Exorcist Avengers, of like her, the original mom for the first movie, like their other next door neighbor who knows, like the shaman girl who comes in from the other culture, who I'm much more interested. She led the exorcism, but I guess we can't have that. And just a random priest in a church. Like, I don't know why he's there. He doesn't really do much. He just kind of seems to be there for moral support. He doesn't have many lines. I don't know. I feel like his role might have been expanded in a previous edit of this film or a different script. But either way, he's just kind of there. And like, these girls, I feel bad because I know they're doing their best, and I don't want to shit them too hard. But it's painful to watch. These poor girls are just not selling this material. Whenever they try to do lip sync, it's incredibly obvious that's what they're doing, and it took me out of the moment. And that's not even like me being nitpicky. That's just saying, like, it just genuinely distracting to the point where I think I just started laughing. I don't even remember. I was ready for the movie to be done like an hour in, and like when we started getting the actual possession stuff, that's the movie for me just took a nosedive, and I just stopped caring. I just wanted to get the fuck out of there. And it's long, it's arduous, it's frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating because I can see a good movie here. I see good ideas here, but it's too tied to the skeleton of the original Exorcist. It wants too much to be like the original Exorcist, that any new or interesting ideas it might have is swept away. It doesn't commit to it. It just kind of throws it aside. And I'm like, you could have had something so much better if you just stuck to your guns and legitimately tried to do something different. And it just doesn't. So I don't know. That is way to do well enough. It'll probably get a sequel. But for my money, I could not do it. I can't say it's worse than The Nun 2. The Nun 2 is still shameless garbage. At least I can say this one tried, and I can see what it was trying to do, and it's not a bad idea. It just needed something else. It needed better writing. It needed better ideas. It needed to rhyme with the original while still trying to do something different. And just having 2 possessed girls instead of 1 isn't enough, especially when both girls aren't really up to the task. And a shameless cameo by the mom of the original film and the original girl from it at the very end just isn't enough to salvage this film. So, The Exorcist Believer is a bad movie, and I really wish I didn't have to say that, because I want ideas like this to work. I want ideas to be. I want movies to be good in general, and it just sucks when they're not, especially when they feel like they should be. So, yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. The Exorcist Believer, shitty movie, which is unfortunate. So, yeah, on to the next video. See you guys next time.